Where's the dish?
There ain't one.
After decades of on and off talks, DirecTV on Monday agreed to buy rival satellite TV company Dish from parent company EchoStar. The deal would create one of the nation's largest pay TV distributors with a total of 20 million subscribers. It comes as satellite TV companies are hemorrhaging market share to competitors such as Netflix and Amazon Prime, which have benefited from changing consumer habits and the rising popularity of streaming video platforms. DirecTV CEO Bill Morrow told Reuters the combined company plans to offer an improved viewer experience that would make it easier for subscribers to find their favorite shows, whether on traditional TV or via streaming, and manage their subscriptions from one place. As part of the deal, DirecTV will pay $1 to buy both Dish and EchoStar's streaming service Sling TV, as well as assume nearly $9.8 billion of Dish's debt. The transaction should provide a crucial lifeline for EchoStar, which was co-founded by Chairman Charlie Ergen and is currently saddled with more than $20 billion in debt. Shares of EchoStar were down as much as 18% in Monday morning trading.
In the fight for the control of the U.S. House of Representatives, California is a key battleground, with Democrats and Republicans vying for districts across the state. I'm Bo Erickson, a U.S. political correspondent for Reuters, and we are here in Delano, California, looking at some of the competitive campaigns for the U.S. House of Representatives. Unlike the presidency, which is fought mostly in those competitive battleground states in the upper Midwest and Georgia and Arizona, the race for the control of the U.S. House is going to be fought here in the Central Valley of California. According to a Reuters analysis, 6 of the 38 most competitive House races nationwide are in California, and 5 of those seats are held by Republicans. Unlike many other competitive U.S. House races throughout the country, the electorate here is much more racially diverse. So campaigns have adapted, and we will see how they continue to talk to different voters of color. Also here, the issues are just a little bit different than some other places in the country. Voters here overwhelmingly care about agricultural issues like access to water. But the Democrat that's running against about the 10-year incumbent congressman here, who's a Republican, the Democrat is trying to make abortion rights an issue that drives voters to the polls. His name is Rudy Salas, a former state lawmaker who recently was not shy about telling a crowd of about 50 voters that his party's leader, President Joe Biden, was partly to blame for higher grocery prices. His opponent, Republican Representative David Valadao, told Reuters he opposed former President Donald Trump's proposal for blanket tariffs on imports, and he also said he opposed the harsh rhetoric on immigration. Both candidates have more freedom to criticize their party because California, unlike those other swing states, is not a factor in the presidential contest. But mobilizing voters in California is key for Democrats to flip the U.S. House. U.S. labor icon Dolores Huerta is campaigning for Salas, and she told Reuters her life's work has been to teach people that voting is sacred, and she said that voters should feel a responsibility to be engaged in the electoral process.
Tesla is expected to report an 8% jump in third-quarter deliveries of its electric vehicles on Wednesday. That's according to Wall Street estimates. The jump is said to be driven by extended incentives and financing plans in China. Tesla introduced a range of offers in the country this spring, including insurance deals and discounts. That was in response to slower Chinese spending and rising competition from local rivals. Industry data from China showed the move helped the US automaker boost sales in July and August after 2 straight quarters of falling deliveries. Some analysts believe the positive trend continued through the quarter and expect the Elon Musk-led company to deliver close to 470,000 vehicles. It would be Tesla's best third quarter, well up from last year. Sales in China were also boosted by higher government subsidies meant to encourage consumers to buy battery-powered vehicles. Musk earlier this year said Tesla was on track for high deliveries in 2024. But the firm still faces a slowing demand for EVs in the US and a lack of subsidies in Europe. That leaves it with a challenge to beat last year's total, something analysts say will be crucial to easing fears over global demand for electric cars. Britain will become the first G7 country to end coal-fired power production on Monday. It sees the closure of its last plant, Uniper's Ratcliffe-on-Soar in England's Midlands, ending more than 140 years of coal power in Britain. In 2015, Britain announced plans to close coal plants within the next decade as part of wider measures to reach its climate targets. Just under a third of the country's electricity came from coal at the time, with this had fallen to slightly over 1% last year. The drop in coal power has helped cut Britain's greenhouse gas emissions, which have more than halved since 1990. Britain has a target to reach net zero emissions by 2050 and plans to decarbonise the electricity sector by 2030. The move will need a rapid ramp-up in renewable power such as wind and solar. Emissions from energy make up around 3/4 of total greenhouse gas emissions. Scientists have said the use of fossil fuels must be cut to meet goals set under 2015's Paris Climate Agreement. The G7 major industrialised countries agreed at a meeting this year to end coal power in the first half of the next decade. But it did give some leeway to economies which are heavily coal-reliant, drawing criticism from green groups. Coal power still makes up more than a quarter of Germany's electricity and over 30% of Japan's power.
The Smiths are one of many families in North Carolina that have been left homeless in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Flooding caused by the storm caused the creek behind their home to rise into a torrent, sending a boulder through a bedroom wall and demolishing 3 of the 4 walls of their house. Aaron, his wife, and their 2 sons were able to escape with a single suitcase, but they aren't sure when they'll be able to return to their tiny hamlet of Bat Cave.
There's nothing left. The firefighters are telling us it's going to be at least 6 months before we see our house again. And frankly, I doubt very much that it'll be that fast. So. Hey, dude. Amazing.
During the storm, the nearby Broad River rose to levels never seen before, washed away homes, and broke through the town's bridge. Climate scientists describe the devastation in the region as a 1,000-year event.
When it comes to where we're going to go from here, I guess anywhere but here. I don't see anything to go back to. We left our cars, of course. We have one suitcase, really, and so trying to figure out four people and a dog out of one suitcase. It's just surreal.
The death toll from the storm stood at more than 100 people on Monday evening and was expected to rise. Earlier in the day, helicopters tried to land in Bat Cave to evacuate people, but locals waved them away from a bridge that appeared ready to collapse. Across the U.S. Southeast, many people remained stranded without running water, and 1.8 million homes and businesses were without power, according to the website Power Outage US.
Qatar Airways is set to acquire a 25% stake in Virgin Australia, challenging Qantas Airways, Australia's largest airline, on the country's routes. Virgin Australia's CEO Jane Hudlishker said in a Tuesday statement the deal was the missing piece to the airline's long-term strategy. In an interview later with Australia's ABC network, Hudlishker said Qatar Airways, quote, has the expertise that we don't have that can help us compete better domestically by giving us access to that scale. Virgin Australia became insolvent in 2020 and was sold to US private equity group Bain Capital. Now it needs government approval for Qatar Airways' minority stake purchase. The deal is expected to be a cornerstone investment ahead of Virgin Australia's potential return to public ownership, as Bain considers an IPO after purchasing the airline for $2.4 billion. Bain on Tuesday declined to comment further on the IPO plans.